we talked kind of about types of writing, but maybe we'll go through. So just some, like, if people, again, if you have like a passion for writing, but you're not sure, I would say an initial category is anything a business needs written.
Yes.
So just look around, whether it's a label, whether it's packaging on something, flyers, websites, anything basically. Companies need that written for them. Sometimes they do it in-house, often not. Often videos are scripted.
Yes.
So it's surprising, actually. When I was a copywriter, I thought, well, video is becoming more of a thing. There won't be any work for copywriters. And then I realized most people are reading teleprompters on videos. I'm not able to read well enough to do that, or just no. I like to be spontaneous. I don't do that, but a lot of YouTubers, business videos, etc., are teleprompters.
Yeah.
So they actually hire a writer to write that script as well. So there's a lot more writing work in that area than you might think. Well, you've done a lot of these like science writing articles, like
yeah, so I'd say science writing, I would kind of push into its own thing, or specialized writing. So if you have in-depth knowledge of any industry, or you got your degree in, like, I went to law school and I don't want to be a lawyer, it sucks. You can make a lot of money writing just legal articles. A lot of law firms will pay very good money per article. I would say probably starting at like $200 per article, because they're all trying to rank for whatever it is they specialize in. So especially if you have a degree, you can make quite a bit of money just writing legal articles, or maybe you're in the construction industry. Anything that's very specialized that most people don't know about, you can make good money writing. And even if you don't have a degree in that area or a lot of previous experience, if you just study, you maybe speak to some industry experts, you can get in as like, I'm a good writer, and just learn that stuff. That's how I got into doing legal and medical articles.
if you're an ENFP or INFP, you probably learn things fairly quickly, which sometimes causes problems where you get bored and whatever else. But it works very well with writing, because I found this as a copywriter. I remember doing an ad for an airplane insurance firm. So I was like, cool, I'll spend a day, just do a crash course, learn as much as I can.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you can use that superpower for things, definitely.
Yeah.
I would say too, and this is kind of jumping ahead in terms of getting paid, but you were mentioning if it's specialized, you can get a lot. And just spelling out what you were saying is, if it's competitive, like a law firm, and they want to be on the front page of Google, that means they need the best content on their website. So if the company is competitive and they're in an industry that earns a lot of money, then they're likely going to pay pretty well. That's just economics 101, right?
Yeah.
Is like, there's not a lot of people who can do great articles, legal articles. It's competitive, and lawyers bill a lot per hour, so they'll pay you a lot per hour.
Yes.
The other thing I would say, my general rule for people is, how much does the person care about the writing? And that's a big factor, right? So a lot of people get started and they're doing these articles, like $5 an article, and this SEO crap. And it's like, if you're writing articles for some douchebag who read the 4-Hour Workweek and is trying to rank his blog on like woodwork, and he's never held sandpaper in his life, like, yeah, you're going to get paid terribly, right? You need to write for people who care about what you're writing about. So other things with that would be ghostwriting.
Yes.
Because if you're writing a book on behalf of someone else, they're going to care about their reputation. They're going to want it to be really high quality. If you're writing it for some anonymous kind of internet company that has 50 websites, they don't really have a reputation to protect. They're probably going to pay you less, on average, would be the case. So people who really care about their reputation, people who have skin in the game, basically. So if they are going to make, like, this is why copywriters earn usually the most among writers, is if you're writing an advertisement for a company and then they're going to spend $20,000 to put it in magazines, or they're going to spend a huge amount of money on Google AdWords traffic or SEO to promote a sales page that you wrote, your sales page is basically the make or break. That's the goal line. So if you write a really good sales page, this company might make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. If you write a terrible sales page, they might lose all that money they spent on advertising. So, going back 30, 40 years when copywriters wrote physical letters that got mailed out to people, I mean, the top copywriters might earn $100,000 a letter. That was not unheard of, because the company might make $50 million from a good promotion. They'd be sending out 100 million letters around or something like this.
Yeah.
So something to consider with your writing for sure. Stylistically, it obviously varies a lot with what you write. My very blanket knowledge would be avoid what you learned in university. Going back to your earlier point, is basically, getting to the point. Like jargon, which you learn in university writing, is awful in almost any type of writing.
Yeah.
Except maybe like science fiction, because people kind of like the jargon, right? Because you feel like you're learning.
In very specific, like hard science fiction, they might enjoy that type of jargon. So,
because I read like The Martian, the book that was also the movie, and they do it in the movie too, but it's like intentionally mixing in jargon to kind of make you feel like you're learning things and smart, but it's jargon that's dumbed down. So I figure I know what it is. Which is that a writer's trick? Like where they do that on purpose?
Yeah, that can definitely be a thing. I think they do it a lot in like spy stuff and those kind. Yeah, because you want to create a sense of, this is real. Oh my gosh, I'm a spy or I'm an astronaut or something. And if you don't use those specific terms, then, you kind of break that suspension of disbelief.
So they use specific jargon, but explain it or dumb it down so everyone can actually understand.
Yes, exactly.
Versus using jargon that people don't understand, but you just assume everyone knows. Kind of thing, which is a terrible way to use jargon.
Yes.
In human interaction as well, if you're someone who talks that way, like you just assume people understand all your technical terms. So let's dive into the money advice a bit more, because apparently people like to get paid for work they do.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of mix up the order a bit. We'll end with some productivity tips, because it turns out actually finishing your work is really helpful as well. This could be a good time actually to explain how we know each other, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Tara was the first ever member of my free freelancer program, which I've now, this last year is like version 2.0. It's basically a whole new program, but I started it in 2016, I think.
Yeah.
And so I was working more. Now the program still has writers and copywriters in it, and also coaches and other service providers. And Tara was the first member of that. And then we gradually became friends. You helped at an event, helping me, and then kind of partnering on. And then another event you came to again as a client, which I thought was interesting. I was like, it was kind of funny after. And is now here in Belgrade. We're actually sharing this big apartment with my mom as well. It's where I don't do the guru thing well. Because you're supposed to really like disconnect from people and pretend you're hard to access. And I'm like, Tara, you can stay with me and my mom. Way too much of a human. I think it's the ENFP part.
It's good though.
Yeah, Tony Robbins would not let people just stay with him and his mom. Although he probably doesn't talk to his mom.
Aww.
I would guess. Anyhow, so we'll get into some money advice here. If you are someone, not to do a blatant plug here, but if money, charging clients, figuring out how to grow your writing business is important, do subscribe to the channel. Check out my free email training. As I said, I've been teaching this to other writers since 2016. And in my own writing career went from $16 to a lot more than $16 in a fairly short period of time. So we'll try to cram in as much advice here, but if you want more, do subscribe to one of my email trainings on that. You wanted to talk about fiction writing.
Yes.
And getting paid with that, which is a very specific thing. So
it is a very specific thing. A lot of times when you look for advice on how to make money writing, people will be like, write for businesses, which there is good reason for that. If you need money and you want to make it writing very quickly, that is the safest route to go, is write for businesses, do some marketing writing, something copywriting, something like that. But you can actually make money writing fiction as well, and it's not as impossible, 1 in a million, as you may assume. So some of the options, we did mention ghostwriting, but you can specifically ghostwrite for fiction writers. Now the pay is going to be less, almost certainly, unless you're already like a well-selling author. Most of it is romance and erotica. Those are the ones that sell very well. But yeah, that is an option for you. If you know you love fiction writing, you're not really into marketing writing, that is an option. I know of people who have made a full-time living just ghostwriting fiction. And there's also the option of course, going into business for yourself as an indie author. That's way more likely to make you a comfortable living rather than trying to publish through big publishers. Again, romance and erotica are the top markets, but you can also go into science fiction, fantasy.
But why would you really? I mean, I don't understand why you'd make that choice.
Yeah, if those genres aren't your thing.
Would Brad Pitt be starring in those garbage films if he could have been a porn star? Absolutely not. He just didn't have the wang to cut it, I think.
Yes, if you're a strange
Is wang an appropriate
person.
term for male genitalia still?
I feel like
because we have to
is.
reshoot this if not. Okay, so we're good. We
I
can
think
continue.
so.
Yeah.
Yes, but like you definitely do your homework on the books that are most likely to make you money if that's important to you. But there are quite a few genres where if you go look up some courses on how to crank out books, you can make a living, a full-time living as an author.
It's if you're an ENFP, I have a free training series. This relates, I promise. Not a random plug in the middle. And we just updated it. And one of the, each email, it's just dreamsaroundtheworld.com, ENFP training, or / ENFP training. One of the stories, like there's different stories in each email, is when I lived in Germany and I had a fling with this girl. And apparently during kind of the pillow talk or whatever it was, I was telling her about writing. And the popular genre you've mentioned would definitely be her thing. And probably some darker books. And she wrote me, like, I got a text message maybe 2 years later. I was in Paris, and she just said, hey, you probably don't remember me, but you were like telling me about writing, and I always like kind of wanted to be a writer, and you gave me advice about like publishing, and like, yeah, I'm a full-time author now. Like I'm just, and she was German and she writes in English, so even then language barrier and that. And I just said, let me guess the genre. And she's like, but yeah, it was, I mean, I like sharing that story, one, because it's hilarious in so many ways, I think, like, but it's my best testimonial to date, I think.
That is, yeah. I remember her.
But it's like not a massive step. Like we had a 20-minute, I don't know how long the conversation was really to remember, but it like wasn't 10-month deep. It was like, yeah, this is like publish a lot, like write, publish, keep going, and
write, publish, repeat.
And that was the main advice that she kind of quoted back, was that I told her, like, you just have to write and publish and like be consistent, and then you'll grow a following.
That really is like, if you follow, write, publish, repeat, and actually know who your market is, so you're not writing, I don't know, unicorn children's books and trying to market to like middle-aged men or something. Obviously, you have to know.
There would be some creepy middle-aged men too. Like the middle-aged men
Ponies.
writing children's unicorn books.
Yes. So it's like, yeah, it really is that simple. I mean, of course, you can add other steps when you're getting established, but
Yeah.
just publish books.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the two biggest ways I would say to make money in fiction. There are definitely other ways. People get creative, and of course, there are side income things. You can edit writing, you can teach writing, whether it's online with your own courses or through universities or whatever it is. But there are many, many ways to at least surround yourself with fiction writing. And
consistency is going to be a big part. I guess probably a lot of you watching are ENFPs or INFPs. So being consistent, you're like, yeah, thanks for that advice, asshole. Like, if I could be consistent. So we both feel your pain. I do have other videos. Maybe when we publish it, I'll try to find links about how to be more consistent and everything like that. And you don't necessarily, actually, we were talking, and this is not the practical way to make money writing at all.
yeah.
But for INFPs, that maybe aiming for some epic work is the way to go. If you look at, the series, whether it's like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, all INFP authors.
Yes.
And so maybe there's a wiring of just going really big. You know, you still have to write consistently to do it. It's just you're not publishing every 3 months. You're publishing maybe once a year, but you're still, Game of Thrones, how many, I don't know how many he's written, but there's a dozen books or something.
Yeah.
And they're not small. So like, either way, it is about being consistent actually.
Yeah.
It's just whether you publish it in kind of the small indie format or larger epics.
And that's kind of knowing your market as well. Those are all like epic fantasy. If you're trying to write an epic fantasy and it's 40,000 words, like your readers are probably not going to be happy.
Yeah.
You've just watched part 2 of our 3-part conversation. If you haven't yet, check out part 1 where Tara, an INFP, and me, an ENFP, discuss how we became writers for hire. Or check out part 3 where we share our exclusive writing productivity tips for our fellow ENFPs and INFPs.
Yeah, I think I want to write like a dark unicorn murder mystery. That would be cool.